Multiplayer is the biggest part of any Splatoon game, and for Splatoon 3, I think there's a lot they could add to it. So today, I'm going to go over 10 changes I would like to see, whether it involves a specific weapon class or something a lot more drastic. These are my hopes for what I want to see in the next game. If you enjoyed today's video and want to see more from me, be sure to subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it. One Splatoon concept I hear talked about a lot is the ability to change your weapons in the middle of a game. This is a lot similar to changing heroes in Overwatch, but Splatoon is a very fast-paced game, and there's a ton of weapons and kits to be able to make fast switches, so I don't think it would fit super well. However, I do think one thing that could work is the ability to change your weapon kit in Spawn. So switching between the normal, custom, or grim range blaster, but not being able to switch from range blaster to regular or rapid blaster. This gives some method of customization in the middle of a game without making things too drastic. The main issue I could see would be changing gear, as some weapon kits would want different sets. For example, grim range may be wanting some more sub-saber to poke with burst bombs. I think the best way to solve this is to be able to attach loadouts to specific weapon kits. So when you change between the kits, you also change the abilities. Overall, I think this would be a great change to spice up multiplayer battles and give more options to players. Next up, I want to look at rollers. Nintendo added vertical flicks in Splatoon 2, which was a great addition to the class, varying up their gameplay and giving them more options. However, I think the way they did it is a bit limiting. Right now, if you jump and flick, you'll do a vertical flick, but horizontal flicks can be really useful in the air, and it's really difficult to input them as you have to horizontal flick before you jump, which can limit how often they can be used. I think the best solution to this is to make it so vertical flicks require you to have the B button held down. That way, if you want to do a horizontal flick, you can just jump, let go of the B button, and then press the flick button. This should give horizontal flicks more uses and prevent misinputting the wrong flick. For this next change, have you ever had a situation where you're about to get a kill to save the game, and right before you can, your teammate just walks slightly in front of you, and all your shots just disappear? Yeah, this is horrible, and I don't think there's a good reason for it to exist. They made it so chargers in this game can shoot through teammates with a full charge, but why can't every weapon do this? Teammates body blocking is one of the most annoying and unnecessary things in the game, and I really just hope they get rid of it. One problem Splatoon really has right now is that communication in solo queue is extremely limited. For how good coordination is in this game, only being able to say this way and booyah in the middle of a match is a great way to ensure that nobody helps each other whatsoever. I mean, come on, there's 4 D-pad options, and we know that the option can change when you die, so that's up to 8 communication wheel options that we could have access to. These could be things such as help with the objective, retreat, work on getting specials, or other useful options that could help your teammates coordinate together. I get the lack of voice chat, it's a big problem in a lot of online games, but there's no reason for the communication wheel to be this limited after 2 entire games. Come on, give us a way to communicate with each other. Splatoon has some amazing weapon designs, and some of my absolute favorite are the Squeezer and Ink Brush, but I can't play them because, well, they're locked behind mashing of all things. And before you tell me, just mash better, I tried. It didn't go very well. But even outside of that, there are some people who physically just do not have the ability to mash, and rapidly mashing a button is also not great for a controller, especially when Nintendo has controllers that already don't last very long. So there should really be an option for alternate fire that doesn't require mashing. It's an outdated mechanic that locks 2 of the most fun weapons out of a lot of people's hands. Seriously, just get rid of it. Have you ever loaded into a match, felt you were a little bit slower than you should have been, or had a little bit worse ink management, or just felt like something was off and was wondering, man, did I use the wrong gear? But have no way of actually checking it. For whatever reason, while you can see all of your teammates' and opponents' main abilities, you can't see your own, even though this was a feature in Splatoon 1. I have no idea why they removed it, but it would be a great idea to add it back, so if people accidentally use the wrong gear, they could become aware of it. It's a problem that happens way more often than you'd think. One weapon class that has always struggled in Splatoon 2 is blasters, and a big part of this is the increased jump RNG, which was just way too drastic. However, a lot of people find the blast radius annoying and think that jump RNG would make them too good. However, there's a good solution to this. Nintendo could give blasters no jump RNG, but reduce the radius size when you jump. This means jumping could still be a great option in the right situations, but wouldn't be something that you'd use to poke people behind corners as much, and would be more useful for accurate shots, giving more options to the weapon class without making them too annoying to deal with. While this next change technically doesn't have anything to do with the middle of a match, I still find it just as important. Nintendo, rotations really gotta go. I know some people like rotations, but the fact of the matter is, some people don't have all day to play Splatoon, and when they get on, only to find a rotation they hate, they might just end up not playing. Additionally, Splatoon 2 has introduced so many maps and there's so many modes that it's really difficult to find your favorite combinations. A new system is definitely needed, and while I think the modes could still be cycled through as long as multiple of them are available at once, the maps definitely need an overhaul. I think a good way to go about this is to introduce a random selection of 5 to 10 maps and have people vote on which one they want to play. The random factor of what stages you can vote on ensures that multiple stages will still get to be played, and on top of that, having data about what stages people are picking and not picking gives Nintendo a clear indicator of what maps need an overhaul. Rotations are a big pain, and I really hope we don't have to see them again in 3. Next up involves a small group of shooters, the spray shooters such as the Splooshomatic, Junior, and Aerospray. All of these weapons have incredibly heavy RNG, and while Sploosh isn't hit by it as much, for Junior and Aerospray, it can make aggressive plays fairly limiting. I think these shooters should have a combat mode, kind of like the reverse of Squeezer having a painting mode. It shouldn't be amazing at fighting, but a little bit better to give the class more options. They would definitely need to make sure these weapons couldn't output as high amount of specials as they could in Splatoon 2, but I think that's a fair trade-off for making the main weapon significantly better. Finally, I have one more change that should apply to all weapons, and it's fairly simple. Please just have it so weapons can paint their own goddamn feet. For some weapons, shooting is an absolute lottery on if the shot will actually paint under you or not, and it could mean the difference between life and death. And there's been a ton of patch notes that have increased the amount of weapons that can paint their feet properly or made it more likely. It's just an absolute mess. If a weapon needs a weakness, why does it have to be an RNG dependent one? That's personally my 10 biggest hopes for multiplayer changes, but I want to add on to this that Nintendo seems to be doing a great job with what we've seen so far. If I made this video before the Splatoon 3 trailer, my #1 wish would be more movement options, and well, we got them. A Squid Roll and Squid Surge that every weapon can perform. While it's not a lot, I like what we've seen so far with the Splatoon 3 footage, and I hope Nintendo really focuses on enhancing the multiplayer experience. While a lot of core mechanics don't need changes, adding to the game to make it feel distinct is really important and something they didn't do super well with Splatoon 2. So I'm hoping they don't repeat their same mistakes. But what do you think? Let me know your ideas for Splatoon 3 multiplayer changes in the comments, and let me know what you thought of my own ideas. And of course, thank you all so much for watching.